The Nets tip off the season against the defending champion Bucks in just 12 days, and a big part of their big three has yet to join the team. Kyrie Irving is still away from the team due to not getting a COVID-19 vaccination. His teammate Kevin Durant recently said this about his absence.
Yeah, we are anxious to be a whole team, and Kai's a huge part of what we do. But he's dealing with something personal right now, and while he's dealing with that, we're going to focus on us here in the gym and keep working. And when they're ready to figure that out, they'll figure it out.
All right, he's dealing with something personal, and when they're ready to figure it out, they'll figure it out. Your reaction to Kevin?
Well, first of all, I think Kevin Durant is wrong. It's not personal. I've always disagreed with these guys about that. I'm not going to argue with them about it. They're entitled to their feelings. When Chris Paul said it to me yesterday when I interviewed him, I disagreed with that. But I'm interviewing him. I'm not debating him. So he's entitled to his opinion. I'm entitled to disagree. It's not personal when it has the potential to harm other people. That's what this is about. That's why, and not only, first of all, you could potentially, you're more susceptible to contracting the virus, and which obviously makes you more susceptible to contaminating other people. That's on a personal, physical side. On the business side of things, the NBA has the right to protect its business. And you have to take that into consideration, which is why Joe Laker was going to give Andrew Wiggins about another day or so, and then he was going to go nuclear on that kid because, I'm paying you $30 million. I don't want to hear all this stuff. 6.2 billion people plus have taken the vaccine. Get over it. What conspiracy theories are you holding on to? So that's another thing to take into consideration. Here's what I would respectfully like Kevin Durant to think about. Kevin Durant has got to step up. What I mean by that is everybody and their grandmother knows this is Kevin Durant's franchise. The Brooklyn Nets are going to do what Kevin Durant wants them to do. One could easily make the argument that Kyrie knows that, and Kyrie's taking advantage of it because he knows how tight he and KD are, and KD, one of the most loyal individuals you'll ever meet, is not going to sit there and turn his back on Kyrie Irving. So because Kyrie Irving knows that better than anybody, that's why he can afford to take this stance. He's hinted at potentially retiring before he accepts going somewhere else, which obviously is going to dissuade other teams from trading for him. I've spoken to 4 teams over the last couple of days because, as you know, as you announced yesterday, Molly, I will be doing NBA Countdown this year. And so because of that, I'm on the phone all the time now with these players, not to say that I wasn't before, but players, coaches, executives.
Amping it up.
Amping it up. And at least 4 teams told me yesterday, well, we got to know that he want to play. We don't want to trade for him, and then he's not all in, and then he's going to retire. So that's one element. The other element is that now it's in New York and San Francisco in terms of the city mandate that you got to be vaccinated in order to play indoors and to go to indoor places. But I got news for you. They ain't the only cities that are going to do that. Other cities throughout the NBA are thinking about doing that. So Bradley Beal and others might have to be confronted with the same challenges. In the end, here's my point about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is the face of the Brooklyn Nets franchise. You cannot allow Kyrie Irving to hold them hostage. They have an organization to run. They've got a championship that they're trying to capture. They can't do it without KD's support because KD, they got to appease KD. You can't let Kyrie Irving hide behind you. And my last point is LeBron James is somewhere laughing about all of this. Kyrie departed from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Supposedly they didn't have the greatest relationship with LeBron and all this other stuff. And people talked about what a distraction he could be because he is smart. He does have a good heart. He does think about people other than himself, but he's so stubborn because he thinks that his level of intellect is so far above everybody else that, the peons that may not comprehend where he's coming from, okay? LeBron is sitting back and going like this. They tough enough with KD and James Harden and those boys. Yeah. But damn, if Kyrie's there, it's a real problem. If Kyrie ain't there, that makes the road easier for us.
Okay.
And Kyrie, he going to have to figure it out.
You brought up a lot of interesting points, but just for clarity's purpose. So give me the options of how this could potentially plays out. He gets the vaccine, then he plays for the Nets.
Yes.
He could get traded and go to a city and play where there's not the mandates, and then he could practice and play home games. He could retire. But what is he hoping that's going to happen? That he's going to force their hand and that the state's going to change the mandates?
Evidently so, because nothing else that Kyrie is doing makes any sense whatsoever. And the people in his circle who play the role of enablers, more power to them. That's their business. I would tell you this. KD is a hooper. KD is in Brooklyn to win championships. KD went to Brooklyn because Kyrie said, yo, let's go to Brooklyn and establish our own legacy. Kyrie doing what he's doing, if not to this point, because it's still early, but if Kyrie does not come back because of this vaccine, it amounts to betrayal, period, because KD wanted to play with you, and you wanted to play with KD.
I get it.
And Harden, by the way, came there to play with the both of them. And let's not forget Harden in this equation because he's a superstar and a future Hall of Famer himself.
No. I get it. And I get from your perspective where it's egregious. I'm just wondering whose hand he's trying to force here. Is it the mayor of New York? And then he just wants an exception for one particular person?
Like
and I know
Molly,
we need to get to Thursday Night Football. I just want to make sure that
in a situation like that, Molly, what you're doing is hoping that the heavy hand of the team and ultimately the league would force a... I think Kyrie ultimately will end up coming to his senses and get back on the basketball court. He obviously is a smart dude, but you can be so smart that you end up doing dumb things because you just think that you're so much more brilliant than the rest. Yeah. And I definitely think that that's the situation with Kyrie Irving right now. What he is doing, once again, he is a distraction, and I don't give a damn what anybody says. It's inexcusable. The reality is that there's a whole bunch of people out here that are suspicious and skeptical about being vaccinated, but we did it. Why? Because not only is it something that's been mandated for the most part by a lot of employers in this country, but also it appears to be the right thing to do because of the potential to contaminate other people. And obviously, we're dealing with a pandemic. We haven't had to deal with this in our lifetime. The last one that existed was a century ago. We get all of that. Kyrie doesn't appear to care. And in the end, everybody's thinking about him. I'm going to tell you right now, I think that's the wrong thing to do. The focus of all of this needs to be shifted to one Mr. Kevin Durant. He is the face of the Brooklyn Nets franchise. He is the best player on the planet as far as I'm concerned at this particular moment in time. What he wants is what he gets from the Brooklyn Nets. And if it were not for KD, I believe the Brooklyn Nets would be on the phone trying to trade Kyrie. Now, they would have a tough time moving him because Kyrie has given the impressions that he would retire before he accepted a trade. A matter of fact, I think somebody quoted him as saying as such. Obviously, that's not something that he wants to deal with. He doesn't want to deal with a trade. He chose Brooklyn. He got KD to pick Brooklyn, okay? So you got teams that know that he would be reluctant to play ball. As a basketball player, there isn't a team on the planet that wouldn't want him because he's just a spectacular player. But off the basketball court, he is considered a head case. He is considered a bit loose and a bit bizarre, okay? And he's got people in his camp like his dad and others, and I can bring them up because they feel the need to speak up for him from time to time, who are doing nothing but serving the role as enablers at this particular moment in time. And as a result, it's going to come down to KD because here is why. Kevin Durant is a baller. And what I mean by that is this is a brother that showed up to nightclubs with high tops on. This brother he thinks about nothing but hooping. Nothing but hooping. He don't care about nothing but hooping, okay? That's what KD is. And James Harden is that way too. They are hoopers. Kyrie Irving not playing ball with them is a problem. It is up to KD to step in and step up and say, yo, bro, I'm with you. I got your back. I support you 1,000% so long as you on this court with me. But if you're not going to be on this court with me, you going to come up against everything we planned. Nobody planned on a pandemic. Nobody saw that coming. But these are our circumstances and our situations. Clearly, Kevin Durant is vaccinated because he wouldn't be allowed to play in practice if he were not. So James Harden, same situation. There's one man that hasn't shown up, and that's Kyrie Irving. And by the way, I hear that he's been in fantastic shape. He came in ready to ball. He looks great. He's been balling throughout the offseason. He's ready to go, so nobody's questioning his love for the game. They just know that that's not the only thing he loves, and he's a bit distracted. It's going to be up to Kevin Durant to either reel him in or give the Brooklyn Nets the okay to move on from him. That is officially where the focus should lie, Kendrick and Marcus, because the bottom line is you certainly can't just rely on Kyrie because of all the important things that are on his mind outside of what he gets paid to do and get paid $35 million this season to do it, okay? This dude's got other things on his mind, And a lot of people say, hey, we know how spectacular he is, but we can't trust where his head is right now. This is what the situation is, Kendrick Perkins.
You know what? Listening to Steve Nash talk in that interview, he looked frustrated. And I would be frustrated as well because, listen, the Brooklyn Nets actually was thinking and considering about changing their practice location to accommodate Kyrie Irving. And Steve Nash was basically said, no, we're not doing that. It's not fair to the other 14 guys in the locker room. That's one thing. Now look, here's the problem, the main problem that I have with Kyrie Irving. You know, Kevin Durant, this supposed to be your homie. This supposed to be your partner. Kevin Durant goes to war and have Kyrie back, whether Kyrie is right or wrong. All the time he support Kyrie and tells us, hey, that's Kyrie's decision, or he's a man. Kyrie is gonna be all right. Kevin Durant has had his back 100%. And now Kyrie is messing up the whole game plan for the Brooklyn Nets, because the whole plan was for all three of them to be signed under contract extensions going into this season. Kevin Durant has signed his contract extension. Kyrie Irving was supposed to be next. But now Kyrie Irving, since he don't want to get vaccinated and he still need to do his research, he's holding up the whole process because James Harden was then supposed to sign right after him. But now what do we hear James Harden saying? We hear James Harden saying, hey, I never experienced free agency. I might want to do it for the first time. Now, look, granted, he still has time. He still has a deadline, James Harden do, to sign a contract extension. But if he don't, then I feel like KD needs to make a decision. Hey, look, Kyrie, look, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because I have this brother in James Harden, who's also a hell of a basketball player, who also that I could possibly lose in free agency, because James Harden might be sitting back saying, let me evaluate this situation. Let me evaluate and see what's going on with Kyrie and how they're going to handle him, or if KD is going to actually step up, like you said, Stephen, and say, hey, bro, look, I done had your back long enough. You done told us as an organization, you done told us that you were going to get vaccinated, and you didn't miss your appointment. You didn't miss your appointment. You had an appointment set up and you missed it. So what are you going to do, bro? Like, what are you going to do? And I think at some point in time, Kyrie is going to rub KD the wrong way, and KD is going to get frustrated, and KD is going to push him and make him make a decision. But ultimately, this comes down to, what does Kevin Durant want? He want to continue to be friends with Kyrie Irving, hold him accountable, or he going to say, you know what, I got James